Hello, hello, hello. We are live, shared spaces with Chap and friends. Dayson is normally with us, but he may not be through today. How you doing today, Chap?
All is well. How are you doing, Miss Quida?
I am doing well. I am Quida Chansey, the founder of Small to More Homes. We build micro shelters and tiny homes for people who are housing insecure. And we are also targeting redline communities and trying to address vacancy and blight in Baltimore with our projects. This past weekend, we were over west with Chap and Donnie. You're not that loud, Chap. It's cool. We were over west with Chap and Donnie at the Pender Hughes, formerly known as the Pender Hughes Elementary Middle School, cleaning up. So, Chap, how long were y'all out there? Because I had to leave before you all did.
Um, we started about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yep.
We had we had a good group of kids and adults combined come out, maybe about 15 people. And we stayed. I would say we stayed till about 12.
Okay, so you weren't there that much longer. Okay.
No, no. And then my son had some lawns on the over west. He had to get cut with his new lawn cutting business, so I had to go help him with that. So I didn't get the day off. We were over there cleaning up all day in the sun, and then had to go cut grass with him for 5 hours. He's a boss, man.
Right. No days off. No days
Right.
off. As much
Um,
as we promote that, that's really not healthy, everybody. You should always have a day off and focus on your mental health and give your body a break. But we're not always that fortunate to be able to take time off, because I really do think that sometimes, although it's necessary, it's looked at as like a privilege. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we just got to grind out what needs to be.
there's certainly plenty to do in Baltimore, so I think it's important that we do what's in front of us with excellence, give 100%, and then occasionally, yeah, we got to stop and slow down. But there's so much to do and so few that actually do it. A lot of people talk about it. That yeah, it's hard to find time where you can stay busy, but it's important to take time.
Yeah.
As far as Saturday went, man, I just wanted to comment too. Saturday went really well. Pastor or Hermano Pedro Cordoza with Iglesias de Dios Puerta del Cielo. It's very Spanish. It's a church out towards Edgewood. He showed up with a van full of young people. Um, him and um, him and one of the elders, as well as Janet Arce sent Glenda and Pastor Norma. So a shout out to our Latino family for coming and helping out over West Side, which a lot of them formerly resided over there, and so they kind of have a heart for that space. So when we reached out, they drove all the way from Harford County to come help clean up. And
Yeah, that
it
was
was a huge
really
help.
cool. That was really cool. They were out there communing with us. I love
Right.
to see that. I love to see that. And then, like you said, they came from all the way from Howard County, right? Or was it Harford
Harford
County?
County, yeah. So
Harford
like
County.
Abington, Edgewood area, but that's northeast, and we went. They came all the way west into not a neighborhood that doesn't have the greatest reputation. Knowingly, we were like we said, a couple weeks ago, we were cleaning up needles and broken glass. But I will say that the neighborhood feedback was amazing. We even had Mr. Ramon, who lives down the street. He stopped by, saw us cleaning, went back home, grabbed a shovel and broom and trash bags, and
Came
started
back
helping
out.
out. And so yeah, it was really encouraging um, to see the neighborhood get inspired. Some of the people that live right out front of the playground, they just never seen them before, but now they're sitting on their porch enjoying their porch or their stoop because they don't have to look at all the crap.
Right.
So they
Yeah.
were out and they were encouraged to see us out there. The park, the feedback from the neighborhood, like it didn't take much, it takes a little bit, but like 1,000% better. We got the kids there. Not only did the kids like just really nitpick the trash, um, got the trash can cleaned out. They picked up all more needles, broken glass. They got that playground as good as it's going to get. Each time we go, it gets a little bit better, but it's as good as it's going to get right now. They're even trying to mend the broken swings. So I don't think there's hope of getting the city to fix that because it's on the surplus list. So Parks and Recs isn't going to come out and fix the swings. The school's not going to come do it. But the kids, like 13-year-olds, are out there trying to fix the swings for the little kids in the neighborhood. And so that really like spoke to my heart. And I was just really encouraged. I was really encouraged.
Yeah, definitely inspiring. Definitely inspiring. Because I know it was early for me to get out there, and they were coming all the way from Harford County.
Mhm.
So I know they were up even earlier, getting ready to come out and help us. But we'll be back out there in another 2 weeks, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so officially we'll be out there again another 2 weeks. Unofficially, some people in the neighborhood will be out there next Saturday again because they were inspired by what they saw. Um, so some a church in the community, the Garden Church, some people from the church reached out and said, "Hey, I know you said you're cleaning up in 2 weeks, but we're going to be out there next week anyway." So there's a church in Druid Heights that's actually jumping in and helping with the cleanup unsolicited. They just heard and saw what we were doing, and they're like, "Hey, we're coming next week to help out." So shout out to Pastor Joel at the Garden Church and his people. Brian Sessions is the one that reached out and said he'll be there next week. So we won't be too long cleaning next weekend out there. Maybe from 8 to 10 because at 10 o'clock there's a parade, a small parade. COVID's kind of hindered what we do, but Officer Chuck Lee and Officer Evan Anderson used to host the Pennsylvania Avenue Classic Parade every year. Um,
Right.
and COVID has inhibited that. So we're still going to do a little something. We got a marching band. Lewis Thomas with PowerFest is connecting with them to get some more entertainment, maybe some DJs or some musicians, some dance groups out there. And these are groups we connected with for the festival that, again, hasn't happened because of COVID. But we're going to get
Right.
some entertainment out there. And the main reason we're getting out there is for back to school. Let me see. We got some guests coming on here. I'm going to get them
Yeah,
on.
there were some guests coming on. I wasn't gonna interrupt you.
No, that's fine. That's fine. But while we're talking, hello guests. While we're talking, the point is to give some supplies of book bags, give them away. So we have procured 150 for that area. So
Hmm.
if you live in the area, if you live in Upton, Sandtown, come on over to the Avenue Market. We'll have 150 book bags. We'll have some entertainment and some good fellowship with some good people. So
Yes, so we will actually be having, that's why we invited Ryan on the following weekend. Actually, I'm trying to think. It actually might be next weekend too. There might be two book bag things going on next
there's
weekend.
a lot.
Yeah, Ryan will be able to tell us, but it is back to school time. So we have Ryan on to talk about his book bags. We have Danielle from Unboxing Change on. She has some great stuff going on with back to school at Franklin. Is that right, Danny? Yeah, go ahead and pop on. Tell us a little bit about one. Introduce yourself. Tell us about Unboxing Change. And Ryan, if you can get your video on, go ahead and do that.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for inviting me. I've actually, it's a big me. It's so funny. I'm actually just getting in the house because Franklin kicked off back to school for teachers today. So that was the largest part of our morning. So Franklin Middle School services over 1,300 students. So as we prepare for 1,300 students coming back, and this is in Baltimore County, we also have a huge staff of about 100 to 115 teachers, administrators, support people. So I am the proud hospitality chair for the PTA. So we did breakfast this morning. And that was just like, oh man, it felt good. So personally and professionally, personally, it felt good to see like my son's teachers, the ones that I saw on the screen all year, like in person. But professionally, it felt awesome to be connected with an amazing school and really just say, to be there to support them all coming back into the building. As we get ready to face a lot of uncertainty, our teachers, our parents, our students need to know that we as community leaders are here. And even if we don't have the answers, we're just here to participate. We're here to show up. So Franklin is how we kicked the day off. And then for Unboxing Change, we went right over to Anne Arundel Christian entry through actually all the way through high school, where we have our snacks program. Snacks is a student networking celebration program where the students actually plan with each other for other students and teachers in the school. So this year we're going to have a third grade planning team with Anne Arundel Christian School. Yeah, last year was fourth grade. This year we got third grade. We have a whole safari theme. So yeah, it's been a real great day connecting with teachers as well as other leaders like yourselves. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely, Chap. You're on mute.
Chap, you're on mute. Yeah.
Yeah, Chap's on mute. But yep, go ahead. Come off mute. What you want to say? Go ahead.
Okay. No, I want to comment on that because I started figuring out and learning how to serve the community in my 30s. And somebody taught me in third grade how to be running this whole state. Like, that's amazing, third grade organizing stuff, man. And like, what a great skill to really pour into. I'm just encouraged to hear that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was breaking up a little bit, so please let me know if I didn't catch it all. But you were saying in third grade, that's a great skill to learn event planning. Absolutely. So Unboxing Change trains students pre-K all the way through college to be event planners and business developers. So that's two major things. So event planning in reference to how they can serve and support their community right now. So that really starts with their homes and their schools and then their larger neighborhoods. That's where our community partners and supporters and volunteers come involved. But then when we talk about business development, that's when we teach our students sponsorship and sales language. What does it look like for your company to be attached to the event that is serving the community? How do you mature that relationship? How do you actually develop? What do you say when you're looking for a sponsor? That's what we have our student celebration teams learn in high school, but it starts with our friends in elementary.
Got any adult classes?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, all the time. I think, that's why whenever Quida is actually like introducing any opportunities, this is all we talk about. This is all we talk about on how to really connect everybody together, especially when we're talking about sponsorship, business development, language that's going to make sure that the residents and neighbors that we support in the community actually benefit the businesses that are trying to bring these ideas and resources to motion. So it's my favorite conversation, Chap.
Yeah, Danny, that's super important to me. Words matter and language matters. So when people aren't saying words and language that I think is right for the community, it's like, I don't know. You're about to see a different side. We should have a more in-depth discussion and understand that language. But I'm so thankful for Danny and snacks. I remember that's what kind of got us through the beginning of 2020 COVID.
Man, I forgot that Quida is a founder of the original Snacks. So Snacks, that's funny, Chap.
Oh, wow.
So Unboxing Change, we don't go public until 2022, so that's number one. So a lot of people don't really know about us, but we have a lot of relationships, a lot of community partners. But with that, during the pandemic, we chose that opportunity to capitalize off of virtual experiences and partnerships with Small Homes and other businesses and supporters' families was huge because you just participated. So Small Homes, your very own Quida, it joined us daily. If not, what did we have snacks on? I think we had it like twice a week, where it was the students from from Franklin Middle School, and then we just started to attract our family communities. We just have lunch with us from 12 to 12:30, and the only question is, what are you having for lunch? And then the kids would run with it. They would run with the conversation, and it was really interesting. Like during the height of the pandemic, like when we really had no idea what was going on, to be able to explore Zoom at that time was really, really cool. So yes, Quida, you are very familiar with snacks. It's why we have been so private with our offerings, so we can have it on a public platform so everyone can consume and participate. But yeah, snacks is really cool and I'm excited to have it back.
Yeah, like I totally appreciate my community partners because it's hard for me to build relationships with students younger than like high school because people don't really want to commit to the idea of kids building things. It gets dicey. It gets really kind of murky. And people are like, what about the hammers? What about the sharp things? This, that, and the other. So working with you all, like especially virtually, getting to introduce, the Three Little Pigs in the context of micro shelters and tiny homes to and reading to the kids. I thought that was really cool. So I love all of the unboxing change babies that
Yay.
come this way. You know what I mean? Forever auntie. So I'm always give me a call. Let me know the next time something back to school is going on. Yeah, it's super cool.
It's funny. Look, I got an anecdote for that. How you're talking about like the hammers and stuff, and people get so concerned, and especially in our culture, there's so much concern over liability that it gets in the way of us serving our kids, right?
It does.
And a long time ago, I read this book, and it was talking about a tribe in the Amazon where, so in our culture, let's say for our culture, there's a hole in the backyard. We tell the kids 1,000 times, don't go near the hole, you're going to fall in. Don't go near the hole, you're going to fall in. What's going to happen? Eventually, they're going to fall in that hole.
Fall in the hole because nobody filled the hole.
Right. When I tell you in the Amazon, they would dig holes to trap animals to keep the villages safe. And the children, from the time they're born, they play with sharpened stones, basically knives, from the time they're born. So they walk around. There's 1-year-olds walking around with just walk around naked with knives, playing by the hole.
Yeah.
And 100%, none of them ever fall in. None of them ever cut themselves severely because the culture just puts it in their hands and lets them learn naturally, right? We don't tell them what they can't do. We just give them the tools so that they can do. And it's like a mentality, and it was a comparison between the cultures of how in our civilized, allegedly, quote unquote civilized system we live in America, we plant the seeds of negativity instead of
yeah.
It's like this. It's like you were mentioning, and this is another thought that crossed my mind when you mentioned about 1,300 students.
Yeah.
You might have a school in America where one teacher is teaching 40 students.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that person is teaching the students out of one textbook that's written by one person, and that's one perspective. And so one person is trying to pour into 40 students this one perspective, and that's all that they have time to learn because of the system we've set up, right? Where more tribal communities, so I'm part Native, and I don't think that I've ever shared that on the show, or a lot of people don't know this. And so as we talk about like my people's history and our culture in America, because America is one continent, it's not north and south, it's not north, south, and central. We don't divide. Only in America do we divide that. Other nations recognize America as one continent. And the natives here, let's say you have a tribe, and in the tribe is clans, and in that clan you may have, maybe 40 elders. And instead of one teacher teaching 40 students, you would have 40 elders pouring into one child at a time, and the child getting 40 different perspectives. And then on top of that, they're not telling the child what to do. They're not telling the child one person's version of history or science or whatever the lesson is, but they're just handing them an oral history, giving them information, allowing the child to discover themselves. They don't tell the children who they are, but they allow the children to take the information from their ancestors that's been handed down, allow the child to discover themselves. And that's why when you meet older like natives, like there's almost a mysticism to them what we don't understand because of the culture of how they intended to teach.
Yeah.
It's been tainted and poisoned. Like when natives were pushed to reservations, believe it or not. So I'm an American citizen. Mm-hmm. I have the freedom to worship however I choose, whether it's Allah, whether it's Hinduism or Buddhism or Jesus Christ or Satan. Like whatever I want to believe, I'm allowed to believe. But Native Americans, when they were pushed to the res, and I'm talking up into the 60s and 70s, like last century, they were forced as residents of the reservations to go to church for an hour on Sunday, whether they wanted to or not. That's insane, right? And then you force public schools on them in a system where they already know how to teach. Like think about this when you think about Native Americans, there was no political parties, there's no police, there's no prisons, yet they thrived for hundreds and thousands of years in this land, right? So it's just something to think about. Like, how did they survive with no prisons? Yeah. Right? Because people weren't throwaway people. When people made mistakes, the community corrected them, showed them a better way. And if they weren't capable of doing a better way, then they served them to the best of their ability. And that's who that person was. There was no police. There was no, each clan took care of itself because it represented a bigger tribe.
Yeah.
And then the tribes, the tribes had leaders and elders they trusted to And believe it or not, especially in the Lakota and in the West, it was the women who were the negotiators, not the men. Which, if you're from Baltimore and you're out here serving, you already know. Like, you see the ratio 2 to 1 right here. That doesn't even speak to the tip of the iceberg. It's probably about 50 to 1 out here. I know 3 or 4 dudes that I trust and I work with, but I have about 50 to 100 sisters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just thoughts I'm having while we're talking and I'm listening to you guys.
I appreciate those thoughts because one of the things that came up that I was thinking about was the monetization of people. When you start to monetize people, you remove culture out of the conversation. Because now these are walking dollars, right? So we don't have the opportunity to invest in the natural awakening or the natural discovering or the natural exploration that a child, would have, or just even a family. Or here's the thing, like, I just turned 36 this year, which is absolutely amazing. I've never been 36 before. It's wonderful. Right? I don't know if you've heard anything about it, but if you haven't been 36, do it. And I look forward to 37. And, right. Okay. You've been there.
Been there, done that, got to teach.
You know about 36. So anyway, but I get excited about how much that I've been able to stumble into just with getting to know myself. And then how much I'm still exploring with being a person that is, centered in community. And like, what does that even mean? It just means that I just care about my neighbor and then their children, right? That's it. That's the bones of me and the bones of Unboxing Change. But with that, we go to that other side when you're talking about monetization of people and how we don't have time to invest in what you might want to do or what you might want to learn about how we've been able to achieve, because that is another word for monetization too, where it's like progress and profit. I appreciate being able to be in spaces where people are heard and are able to learn. And then also I'm a, disruptor to create those spaces too. Because it's like, wait, what are we rushing to? Why are we moving so fast to get to something that's not working, if we're being honest? You know what I mean? If we're just being honest, like we're rushing to work, we're rushing home. If we're not able to talk and converse at home, and if we hate our jobs, where the hell are we going? Like, where are we going? So,
Right. Yeah.
So I totally agree. And then we're going, and then the next layer that you introduce into Indigenous culture and then understanding Native experiences. This is something that I'm deeply interested in and getting ready to start to explore and peel back layers of, how do I say this, of cultures that are not predominantly discussed because we have so many issues already as a people that we never get to discover the cultures that we don't get to know about on that Indigenous end. So that's something that resounded with me when you were bringing all that stuff up, Chap, about just like, what does it look like for a child to just be able to be? What does it look like for a person or a group of people, a clan of people to just be? So I get it as we think about community for this new school year.
And the word I was looking for that you found for me was awakening. That's the word word. It translates to awakening. Like, the elders pour into each child to help them find their awakening, to awaken into what their purpose is. Yep.
You know what's so funny? So with ACS, so Anne Arundel Christian School. All right. So for me, I am a girl that loves some Jesus. So just get ready. So with that, Anne Arundel Christian School, that's where Snacks was piloted in a actual school. I'll say that. Well, with Snacks, it started in Franklin. Oh my gosh. Hey, Ryan. It started in Franklin, just as a Franklin Middle School, just as something to substitute lunch as an experience before we even got into Zoom. But Anne Arundel Christian School with Mr. Soiree picked it up as an actual program and allowed Unboxing Change to pilot that with 4th grade. They were, full on, what does it look like to have 4th graders be an actual student planning team for the year? And they said yes to us. With that, these kids are dynamic because it's a Christian school. So the agenda is full of, we open and close with prayer. And then there's an opportunity for us to have a conversation about what God is doing in our life. I bring that up because of the fact we get excited about opportunities for students to express themselves just as much as learn. But then also, what does it look like for little leaders to take control over what they see right now? And how are they even digesting that? Especially when you're talking about like leaders pouring into one another. If you're not a leader that is allowing something to pour inside yourself, how are we teaching little leaders to even learn? So I just get excited about all the opportunities for student voice, student representation, but then also allowing belief, values, and prayer to come up as well. So I get excited too because Ryan's on, so I'm going to jump over to him too. But yeah, I just wanted to.
Danny, I agree with you. I think all of us are like rooted in church and Jesus and Christianity.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this show. All people are welcome, though. All people are welcome. Let's just make that clear.
Absolutely.
But this show is rooted in the Father himself. So, Ryan, hello, and thank you for joining us. We were talking about some of the stuff that we got going on the west side. Tell us what you all have going on this coming Saturday, right?
Yeah. So at Christian I think it's Christian Changing Life Center, I think is what it is. I don't have the details in front of me, but we're doing a 3-on-3 tournament, a back to school drive, right? We're going to be giving away school supplies. We're going to be giving away book bags. Of course, we'll have prizes for the winner of the 3-on-3 tournaments. We'll also have Hometown. We'll be there offering resources to that to the Sandtown area, and then we'll also have someone. The health department there doing tests for COVID. We'll also have free vaccines available for kids to get vaccinated before they go back to school, as long as they meet the requirements. We also have, say again, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, where did you say it was at?
You're breaking up
It's
on me.
at like what, 703, 708? What was the address? Is it the same address you sent me this weekend, Ryan?
Yeah, it's Christian Union Center. I'm sorry, so I had it wrong. Christian Union Center, say 1718 North Fremont Church.
1718.
I mean North Fremont.
No, 718.
Yep.
718.
Yep.
12 to 4, right?
Yep.
And Chap,
so Real Life Changes PRP program is actually, they're going to be the ones helping us out there with the tournament, of course. Fresh to the Soul will be there helping us out. Gray Rose Sports, George will be there helping us out. And of course, the church will be there lending a hand as well. But the plan is just to give them what they need and to love that community as much as we can within our time frame. It's from 12 to 4 that Friday. We've got a couple of things going on out in Harford County. I don't have that information in front of me either, but we will be giving out book bags at the Boys and Girls Club out that way as well. And that will actually be Saturday that we'll be doing that. And then, of course, out in Oxonville, we'll be giving away book bags at our PG location as well.
Okay, so I think I misspoke then. So your event is Friday from 12 to 4.
Yep.
And Chat, your event is Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so Ryan, also you mentioned Hometown. Tell us about Hometown. We don't know what that is.
Hometown Lenders is a mortgage company. We're a mortgage firm, right? We're the first in Baltimore. And we are looking to just get involved in the community, right? I mean, one of the greatest, for me anyway, I can say this personally, right? Because one of the dream jobs that I wanted to get into was being able to give, right, without having to ask for anything back. There's always a stipulation when you're giving, right? But when Hometown came to me about opening up this position, this community outreach department for a financial institution, the way they pitched it to me was going to be innovative and one of a kind. I mean, of course, M&T, they have things like that. You know, other financial institutions have these community outreaches, but none of them are hands-on the way we are, right? And And one of the best things that gives you the most joy is you have the freedom to come out and just figure out what the needs are, right? A lot of times when you're giving, you have to give with stipulations. Not that it's not that way here, right? And any way we see a need, we're able to go ahead and satisfy that need. So whether that be through education, whether that be through sponsorship, or whether that be through I don't know, just helping us with time. I mean, helping you guys with time, right? You need some volunteers, some extra hands. We can come do that stuff too. Whatever way you need us, we want to be there and we want to help out. And again, I don't have to turn around and worry about sales. Of course, that's on the agenda, right? But that's not the situation with us. That's not our focus. We're not there asking anybody for any sales. We're just there to figure out what you need, and we really, really want to. One, we want to introduce our surrounding communities to hometown lenders, and then vice versa. But we also want to just make sure that we're investing into the community, because our number one goal is to bridge the wealth gap in our city, in our state, and then in our country. So the way we do that is by investing into our future, and then having these workshops that we're going to be holding to help our adults unlearn some of the things that they have learned about finances, or just simply learn some of the things that they have not been taught through the school systems and the curriculums that they've been presented with. We want to come in and talk to you about the truth of the matter, how to truly think about money, how to truly think about your credit, how to truly be strategic with your assets, right? And how to tap into your wealth when you need it, so that we're not putting so much power on money, we're not surviving all the time, and we can end up beginning to thrive, right? The way we do that is by investing into our futures, and helping our our parents and surrounding communities as well. So we want to be able to give in a couple of different ways, from a couple of different angles, and to the whole house. Man, we want to be able to teach the brother, the aunt, the uncle, the father, the husband, the wife, the children, and all ages. And we're in the middle of building curriculums for that middle school age, for that high school age, right? And then also for the adult age as well. So we're gonna have a little bit for everyone to come and feed, and to definitely heal from some of the things, or unlearn some of the things that were taught to us. Because of it, we've made some decisions that we now have to heal from, and we want to come in and lend a hand in that manner.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Chap, you look like you wanted to say something earlier. I wanted
Oh,
to go ahead and go ahead.
go ahead. Well, I just wanted to
Um,
say how encouraged I am for you, Ryan, because it's very empowering. Me and Quita know from working. I work for the city. Working with the city. It's a very cumbersome ship to drive, and getting grants from like Hopkins or university and so on. There's so much red tape and so many rules, and so to be able to just freely give is like such a powerful gift, brother. And I can hear it in your voice, like the empowerment of it. So I'm encouraged for you, man, and I'm encouraged that someone has the wisdom and the clarity to see that our community needs. They don't need a bunch of rules. They don't need to wait for this and that. And to be able to, for a company to be able to invest in someone and trust someone to say, you know what, here, we trust you, serve. That's so powerful, bro. It's huge. So thank you.
I know.
Absolutely, absolutely. And listen, I want to throw a question out to you guys, right? Because as I continue to get comfortable in this role, and with the more and more foundations and nonprofits and organizations that we get a chance to talk to, I'm learning that throughout the state, throughout the DMV area, no matter what part you're in, there's a level of politics connected to giving. Like there's almost some sort of stigma, or like there's some sort of attachment. Um, I'm not really sure, but it's almost as if I'm finding myself fighting to help, as
Yes,
opposed to people
yes,
saying, "Oh, of course we need that," right?
yes.
I'm talking to some people about financial literacy, and you would think that that would be a priority, but it's hard. It's hard to get people to adopt that level of thinking, or at least with the sense of urgency. Um, Coming from my business, of course, I'm still originating. So, I started this off, this whole venture as a loan officer. And just coming from that background, I see the urgency. I see the impulses every day. I see how you think about money when you're in the Walmart and you get to the front of the line, and then you see that snack bar right there that you almost have to purchase something, right? I see the commercials that you pay attention to. I see how cereal boxes are aligned along the bottom of the shelf so your children can see it. I see how people think about money. I see how these companies, these entities get you to think about money. And sitting through all of the marketing classes that we've been in, right, in sales, that's what you got to do. You got to sell. And they teach you how to get your name out there. And I'm seeing these things being done, right, to our kids, to our to the adults in the
Intentionally.
area. Yes, it's almost like it's targeted, right? So you would absolutely think that these other foundations, these other organizations dealing with what they're dealing with, fighting the way they're fighting on the front lines, you would think that they would want some sort of push forward in another way. How many financial institutions want to teach financial literacy from a professional standpoint for free?
Can I
You know what I
let
mean?
me
Like,
comment? Yeah, let me comment real quick. So, just what you're speaking on, right? I'm gonna give you an example. Just what you're speaking on, financial literacy and financial education. There was a specific class that was offered by Hopkins. I got the email because they wanted me to offer it to my people in my community that are maybe underserved or experiencing poverty. So it's a class specifically targeted for single parents, single moms specifically, um, moms of color specifically, experiencing poverty. And it's a class to re-educate and help them understand how to manage their money, how to get out of their situation. It was a group from Chicago. They partnered with Hopkins to offer this program to our community. Guess how much a 3-day class cost?
how much was it?
1,500, bro.
Wow.
So you
How
want
much?
someone in
Wow.
poverty, experiencing poverty, to pay $1,500 for you to tell them how to save money?
Yeah.
You're gonna speak us
Yeah.
on the show.
Yeah.
No
That
sense.
is
Makes no
exactly
sense.
what I'm talking about. That is exactly what I'm talking about. And
I
when you're
bet they get
talking
good grant
to,
money to do that.
yeah, and it's a hard truth. I mean, it's a pill that's huge, and then you turn it sideways, and then they ask you to swallow it, right? I mean, some of these conversations that I'm having, or just some of the individuals that you call, and they don't answer, right? Because you want to do something like this for
Right,
their
but Brian, think
kids.
about it like this. If it's those same people that Johns Hopkins were targeting and trying to get them to come, credit is scary. You know what I mean? So let me tell you why I said it this way. So small to more homes, we do financial literacy classes, but we don't call it financial literacy. We say financially lit, and we rope people in with the tiny home. Like, you have to be able to meet people where they are because no one wants to learn about financial literacy if they can just flutter through it, forget about it for a couple of years, get a credit card, forget about it for a couple and it's a vicious cycle that some people are just okay with. Because to your point, before Baltimore homes, I thought I was going to create homeowners in Baltimore. But folks were like, "Oh, you're not renting this house that you just renovated?" I'm like, "No, I'm trying to give it to you at an affordable price." And they're like, "Well, what if the heat goes up? Insurance. Well, what if the door insurance?" Like, there's so much scariness after
Yeah.
the literacy that I think it's a mindset as well as a mind block. In addition
Well,
to the systemic, you know what I mean, barriers. So meeting people kind of nicely with kids gloves, we'll talk about budgeting, we'll talk about tiny homes and how you can buy one because you'll never be able to buy one if you swapping out the credit cards every year and forgetting that you owe
sure.
them. You know what I
It's
mean?
it's completely mindset, right? And I think we, as an LO, I think that they're training us on anxiety right now for borrowers, right? So
Yes.
we already know that fear is going to be a determining factor when you're talking about purchasing a home. So we've accepted that for the adults,
Yeah.
right? I do not, though, and this goes back to my question for you three. I do not understand the tug of war, the resistance, and me trying to get into I don't know, whatever the case may be, in front of some kids, right? To set up maybe a 4, 8, or 16 week program where we can break that up, right? About half hour per session, maybe once a week or once a month, whatever the case may be. So we're not overloading you. But to set that perspective, to set that mindset, to set that understanding, as opposed to having them unlearn it when they're older, that which is so much more harder to do, right?
Yeah.
There's politics that I didn't plan to fight against, right? There's posturing that I didn't know was there.
Yes.
There's a bunch of stuff that's there that I didn't quite know was there.
And it's
That I find
unnecessary.
myself, yeah, that I
It's
find myself,
frustrating.
yeah. So I was gonna ask you guys. I mean, I'm throwing it out to you guys. How do you guys deal with something like that? How do you guys deal with fighting
Multiple
against?
I got the answer, bro. I got the answer.
I got my answer is multiple fishing poles, because you kind of don't know that, like, sometimes people are good at hiding that until it's too late to not be in the partnership. Do you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
it it's a give and a take, and to see where people want to be involved. But to your point, Ryan, there's power in poverty. Like, there's power in people needing you and people relying on you. So not everyone wants to solve that problem, because that takes away their power. If I can control this group of people, then now, I am the controller of this population. And that's what some people are really trying to do. Go ahead, Chap. What you want to add?
I want to hear what Danny has to
Oh,
say, but
Danny came off mute.
the answer is love, bro. Oh yeah, but the answer is love, bro. Like for real. Um, when it comes to the city, like if I don't have to deal with them, I won't. When it comes to big organizations with the big money, big checks like Hopkins and stuff, if I don't have to deal with them, I won't. It's not personal. It's so cumbersome to the process. It's so cumbersome to meeting the needs that need met immediately that it's easier to turn to you, Quida, to turn to unboxing and not turn to the agency. So if someone's experiencing homelessness, it could take me 4 weeks to figure out who to talk to in the homelessness office at the mayor's office, just to get to that person, get all the gatekeepers to find out they can't help me anyway. Or I can, and like 15 minutes, she texts me back, this is what we do and I'm sure I haven't reached out to unboxing change yet, but I know that they're in that same spirit, and spirit recognizes spirit. So the answer is love, bro, because we've been navigating. Queen's been riding with me for like a year now at least. I've been here serving the city since 2013. I can earmark when I got my stuff together and got my head out my butt, and began to learn how to navigate. And it's even between great community sisters and brothers, they have their personalities that just don't get along, and that's okay, because you know what? I love you over here, and I love you over here. We're doing something in your neighborhood, so I need you all to like do it for me because I'm your brother. And it happens, but that's how you just got to do it with love, man, and knowing the infinite source, knowing God, the Father, the infinite source of love. It's very easy to just pour into other vessels and give them that love, and it diffuses a lot. Like, so if Queen is beefing with me, we're not getting along right now, but something's going on in Sandtown, and you reached out to me and reached out to her, you know what? Because of you, we're going to do it, and we're going to set that aside and get the job done and meet the need. And then through that, there's also healing and reconciliation, man. But it all begins with just loving people. It begins with relationships. Above all else, if I have me community and I want to get together like a council of chiefs and generals, you have to strategize who you're putting together in a room if it's not in love. But if you're getting together, just cutting loose, and there's love there, and between y'all, that's the difference. You'll find that there's
Yeah,
transactional relationships that will remain transactional. And I'm still learning this. And then there's relationships with people in the community that are family, and the spirit will recognize the family because they are in a similar spirit. Like I've only seen Danny with Unboxing Change a couple of times, but I watch on Instagram a lot, and I know that spirit is there. Even virtually, I can feel that spirit is there. So it's not Just love that. That's my answer. She said fishing poles. I'm
Yeah,
saying love.
So you
And you
say
put all this
yeah.
love,
together.
I say casting more relationships. What do you say, Danny? How are you navigating?
Well, and listen, before Danny, I'm sorry to interrupt, but Chad, I didn't realize that they may be looking at me as a large institution. I didn't see, and I didn't catch that point, right? Because um, I guess maybe because I wasn't handling it, or at least I didn't think I was, as a large institution, right?
But you're
I'm
coming with
actually
the purse. You're coming with the
exactly.
purse.
I'm
You're
on.
a large institution. Even if you're not, you
Yeah,
are.
yeah. Makes
But
sense.
Ryan,
Makes sense. And love
relationship,
is the thing that
relationship.
keeps me pushing, right? I mean, I care about the issue, care about the topic, and I have my heart is too big for my passion is people, so I can't quite quit. Just looking for the right formula, like that sweet spot, right? To continue to push the envelope in this matter and how I want to change our city. You know what I mean?
Danny?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I get fussy, right? Unboxing change is fussy. That's why we're not public. Because I agree. I agree with love. I agree with having multiple poles, and I agree with knowing your position, even if it's holding the purse. For us, we've always had a takeover mindset. And what I mean by that is that every person that is in front of us is a part of the mission. So it's kind of like, how do we activate them to go in the same direction? But more importantly, how do we understand why they're in front of us? We lead with student representation and student leadership, so we usually get the door down quickly. I think it's because the way that unboxing change has been developed over these last couple of years was that we started with a heavy level of volunteerism. You were having an event, we're showing up, right? And we're scoping and we're scouting and we're looking at ways to add value and ways to improve, and then turning that into a larger strategic plan, and then teaching that language to students. So I say all that to say that we're a little fussy because of the fact we're already here. We're just getting closer to you acknowledging us, and really figuring out the ways to continue. And that language in itself is heavy as well, where it's like, no, it's by any means necessary. We are going to find the best ways to work together. And if in fact we're missing a piece, we will discover it together. And then putting our students at the forefront allows us to predict what the trends are going to be in the future, especially when we're talking about buying experiences and new customers, new homeowners, new anything. So I agree with everyone when we're talking about love and ways to develop that, because you have to lead with it. You have to also know that you've been called to this work. No matter what, you've been called. And the person that is standing in front of you, next to you, or behind you has been called as well. And if we can agree that we're here for the greater good, we can get there. So I just, I resonate with everything that everybody has mentioned. And that's why I get excited for the partnerships that we have. I love Hometown Lenders because they said yes to prom. They said yes to prom. Like, for a virtual prom for us, like, y'all will, I mean, for those of us that know our partnership with Wide Angle Youth Media, for 2 years, they said yes to the students no matter what. Like, no matter what's going on, we're going to have prom. We're going to celebrate you. We're going to celebrate your graduation. Hometown showed up out of nowhere, but then already there, if that makes sense, where it's like, no, we've already been serving. How can we help? That's been the relationship that we've had with community partners. So I just say that, no, we lead with student representation by any means necessary, and that everybody in front of us is there for a reason. Let's figure out the language that helps us continue.
And can I comment real quick? Because that's like you just said about Hometown Lenders showing up. If we're all so like part of my elevator pitch for Power Fest, right? My logo is a plug. So a plug. If you ever tried to use a toaster that's not plugged in, it doesn't work too good, right? And so part of my mission, nonprofit, when I'm doing that work, is to connect people to the source, because when source, you will find and fulfill your purpose, his purpose for you. And I think it's significant that the 4 people, like you guys could I'll testify to this, and people listening, that when you're plugged into the source and when you're walking in the path that God leads you and you're doing what you're supposed to do, you'll meet your divine appointments and you're always exactly where you need to be, and you're always on time. And you guys, I'm sure you have testimonies of that, and it's probably a whole other show we could talk about stories like that where, for instance, this this school season, somebody reached out and said we need book bags, and I don't have any connects. I'm not like, for all the people I know, I didn't know anybody with book bags, so I started scrapping the little hoop bags from Parks and Recs and some other places that were getting rid of them. I put together 40, 50 bags, and one of the aunties from one of the rec babies donated like 2 boxes of supplies, and we started putting together what we could. It was kind of pitiful, but it was more than what someone would have if they didn't have anything, right? So we were doing what we could. And God recognized that effort, and somebody called me, Pastor Matt Stevens with CCD, with the police department, called me and said, "Hey, Chap, I heard do a book bag giveaway. I got 125 book bags for you from Living Legacies." And I'm like, "Who's that?" And oh my gosh, like right on time. So then we were gifted, because we're doing the work. God showed up on time, right, with His people, and I went to pick up the book bags. Me and Officer Chuck Lee. And the lady gave us 150 book bags, and it just keeps getting better from there. And the story gets better as we unfold. But it's like when we're doing His work and all the members of the body are doing what they're supposed to do, His work becomes fulfilled, and there's no anxiety with it. There's no stress. There's almost a peace and calm to it, that when you're doing what you're supposed to be doing in Christ and walking and doing your purpose, the other members of the body just come and fill in right on time, and you never see them coming. You never, it's not an expectation. I don't necessarily expect things to fall in place like that, but they always work out right on time. If I needed a DJ and we're doing an event set, like for our event Saturday, if I didn't have a DJ showing up and we needed one, I promise you that DJ would call me that morning, like, "Hey, Chap, what are you doing? Somebody canceled. Can I come play?" Because that's how God works.
Exactly.
Yeah, I second that too, Chap. I'm thinking that I know for a fact that every no that I've gotten attempting to help a certain community or a certain zip code, it freed me, made more space for me to be able to pay attention to another zip code that I did not see coming, that we were able to have an even bigger impact on. So in those hindsights, even when we're in purpose, we still have to do it Father's way. But I'm learning though, His no's are not necessarily no's. It's just maybe not here, or maybe not yet, or I haven't the table isn't set just yet. I'm still sending this other person. This other person's not there to meet you just yet, or whatever the case may be. But that's frustrating when you're trying to get out there and help and you don't have no blueprint, right? I mean, I'm out there just like, "All right, come here, let me hug you. Let me figure out how to hug you." And he's like, "No, I don't want hugs." And I'm like, "Man, you need this hug. You don't even know it." And but it's have to embrace the no. It's something that I'm still learning how to do, right? Because we got to be strategic in the manner in which we have impact. And I definitely don't want to take anything away from anybody else working in the body of Christ. But what I will say is, it is most certainly an adjustment. I thought this was going to be a world where, because of how big my heart was, and because of how big the passion was, I just kind of figured it was going to be yes.
Yeah,
And it's like, no,
well,
not that way.
and you got me thinking, man. So both Lewis Thomas with PowerFest, he's the president of PowerFest Baltimore, and former Chief Melvin Russell, they both shared the same thought with me over the past couple of years. If you go into the Bible with Elijah and you research, just research oils, the miracle of oils, right? There's a woman who's struggling with her son. The husband dies, and they're struggling for money, and so there's a miracle. The prophet tells them, go get vessels, go borrow vessels from everybody. You got a little bit of oil left in this pitcher. Go borrow all the vessels you can find and start pouring. And when they did that, the source, the oil, never ran out of the pitcher, and they filled vessels that there was like infinite wealth, that they didn't have to struggle or think about it anymore. And what that translated to in the season where I was being taught by Chief Melvin Russell and Lewis was that the no's are okay. God doesn't want you to waste that pitcher on broken vessels. He wants you to fill it with vessels that are mended. And so if you have a broken vessel, that's a different story. That's a different narrative. If there's broken vessels, they can be mended in their time and in their season when they're ready. But if they're not ready to be mended, move on to the next vessel. So, and I see that I'm breaking up a little bit.
Yeah,
but
you were going in and out, but
he doesn't
we
want
got
us to.
I think we got the gist.
Yeah,
of
so
it.
Definitely got the point of that, man.
Yeah, the point is don't. It's okay not to fill a broken vessel in that season, but they will be back, and they'll come back mended and ready. Just keep doing what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, I fully believe that. Like, I fully believe that everyone I meet and crosses my path, God has a purpose for you because you're in my life, and I share that with people a lot. And if you don't know it yet, you'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
And we'll
Ryan,
still
I
be
think
here
you'll
doing-
learn in Baltimore that there's a lot of pushback when there shouldn't be pushback because of things that have nothing to do with you. It's a politic that existed before you, a program that was supposed to launch, that somebody else's name was on it, and now your program sounds a little bit like that one, and so they're a little shady about you because they don't know who you. Just keep on doing what you're doing, and like we've all said, the pieces will fall into place because it's inevitable. Like, there's nothing that's going to stop us from changing this city and turning it around,
Yeah, it's definitely a huge need. I just, I didn't think that would be a part of one of my fights, right? I didn't see that one coming. But there's always something there that you didn't see, I'm sure, on any new level of life. It was a shock to me, man. I come from East Baltimore, right? So it's like, we need this.
Yeah, and you need it, but like I think that when we take sometimes like the mindset idea, we're not taking into consideration that we are in thriving mode. Well, there are a lot of people that we are trying to hug that are in survival mode. And they're not thinking about financial literacy. They're not thinking about, do you know what they're thinking about meals and where their head is going to rest that night. Not a year from now,
listen.
their credit is together. Like, it's just.
Yeah. It's not necessarily, and listen, that we're prepared for, right? We're preparing to fight the way they're only willing to view it, right? That's the reason why we've become, I think every leader on this board here, on the screen here, has become or has developed an attribute of being able to change a person's mind, right? And being able to say the things that will get past the armor or the walls or whatever they built, just because we built them, right? So we know what it took to build them, and we know what it took for them to be broken down, right? We needed truth, and we needed that truth to be broken to us a certain way. But you understand that fight. I know that there's going to be tug of war there, but amongst leaders, I didn't expect the posturing. I didn't expect the tug of war. I didn't expect certain, leaders not to get it, not to see the point. I didn't expect that, right? And I didn't expect to witness some of the corruption that I'm coming. That's crazy to me.
It doesn't make sense. Don't even try to explain it. Don't even try to explain it.
Yeah. And all of it trickles down, right? So it's like one person who's not even trying to be, what would you call that? Corrupt, right? I don't even want to be corrupt, but because it's going on, you have no choice but to go through the system, right? So they come to you with these open-ended answers like, well, okay, well, what did that mean? And they're like, oh, well, we want to. And I'm like, you want to? No. We need to. We need to figure out how to make this work. You don't have to pay for it. I just need your time, and I need you to orchestrate an area where I can come be for your students, your clients, your people, your parents, your community. If you're an advocate of it takes a village, let's build them a village, and let's not care about, you know, what gifts or whose gifts are being used. I mean, listen, you have gifts in a certain sphere of influence. You have gifts according to who you are and according to your purpose. Operate in those gifts. But you could do more and love more people and love more kids if you used my gifts.
Yep.
And if I used yours, we could love more people. You know what I mean?
And look, I'm
But
gonna take you a step
it's not that
further.
simple for whatever reason.
It's not. It's not.
And I'll take you a step further on that village thought is that like David McNair over Creative Influence, and he's the director of Cecil Kirk Rec on 22nd Street. He says it takes a village to raise a family, not a child, because a lot of times the saying goes, you know, it takes a village to raise a child. But if the village is pouring into the child and the parent's not okay and they're going home to not okay, then we're failing. So I think it's important to take his quote and embrace that it's takes a village to raise the family. So we pour into the child, we pour into the parent, we pour into the home. We make sure it's stable at home so that we're not pouring into a broken vessel.
Yeah. With
So
that
that
said, and I'll let this be like one of the last things. I know it's after 8, but that's part of the reason why Baltimore has so much chaos, because once upon a time, like schools and churches were that foundation that poured into the kids and the family. But so many schools, Pender, Hughes, like schools are no longer community schools. They're like buses away.
Yeah.
So there's no place for the parents to get there at the same time that the kids are there. The PTA meetings are mostly empty. You know what I mean? Like these are the things that happen because of systemic racism, redlining, and the fact that we're not investing in these communities. So bring back the housing, bring back the schools, bring back that community idea, and the village will continue to pour into the village itself.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming on to the show today. Thanks for coming out. God bless and good night. We are here every Monday at 7. And Ryan, we're gonna have to have you back. Danny has been here a couple of times, but Ryan, we're gonna have to have you back to talk some more financially lit stuff to get people hype about learning about buying homes. Okay.
You know what, Quida? I am so sorry that I didn't even know that you were doing this on Mondays. This is probably completely my fault. But you know, it probably is. I got a lot on my plate, so I'm sorry that I didn't know. But this is dope, man. This platform is dope. This what you got going on is dope. The people you got coming on here is dope. And you probably had a few quality conversations I've missed. So I'll be right on here every Monday checking you out, see what you got on here.
We appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate that support, man.
Absolutely.
Yep. Love you guys. Thank you guys so much for your time. Have a good night.
All right, guys.